welcome back to Point and Shoot, our show about basic photography. I'm your host, Susan Hagstrom, and today I'm very happy to be welcomed by my guest, Joanne Berman. Joanne might look familiar if you've ever been to the Apple store in Hingham. She's a trainer there. She's worked there for about 7 years, helping people with their computers, their devices, training them on a wide variety of issues that they may have. But in addition to that, she's also an accomplished photographer. So thank you for joining us, Joanne.
Thanks for having me.
One of the things we're going to talk about is a little pet project, no pun intended, that Joanne has, but that's just a tease. We're going to talk about that in a minute. First, I'd like to find out, Joanne, we like to ask all of our guests, how did you first get interested in photography?
Well, in a very circuitous way. I was working in Boston, sitting in a cubicle, and I realized, this isn't me. And I sort of remember it like a light bulb kind of situation. And
yep.
What I ended up doing was, my sister was a makeup artist at the time, who still does that actually on occasion. And she knew of a photographer in Boston who was looking for help.
Okay.
I had gone back to school. I left there, went back to school. I went to UMass Boston and studied, took every film and photography course I could.
Okay.
They didn't have a photography major at the time, but I created my own and just took every course I could there.
Okay.
And I ended up working for a photographer in Boston by the name of Lou Jones. You may know of him. He's pretty established in Boston. And I was his stock photography / second assistant person.
Oh, wow.
So I really got to view, you know, his photos, and I learned so much from that.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that's really hands-on training. That's probably the best kind of training you could get.
It was.
Just thrown into the fire. Wow, and so you've been into photography ever since then?
Ever since then, I've had some interesting things happen in different life situations that sort of steered me in different directions.
Okay.
And it's just this long circuitous road, but photography has always been a part of it.
Okay.
And did some traveling with someone who was a singer-songwriter touring, and I left a job to do that, and so one thing sort of led to another.
Okay.
But photography has always been a part of my life.
Okay, good. And today, what does your photography consist of? I mean, I know you have the other job at the Apple store, so what does your photography consist of today?
Well, I mean, what I most enjoy shooting are pets, nature, sky shots.
Okay.
I love street photography, and pretty much anything. I'm one of those people that like to just have my camera with me all the time.
That's one of the great things about photography. We talk about it on this show, is that there's just such a wide variety of things to do. So you can start in one area and, you know, try all kinds of things because they're all different. So it's kind of fun. We also like to talk a lot about gear on this show. People like to learn what the pros use. So let's just stick to sort of well, you can talk about the gear you use for landscape photography and then also maybe for pets. What do you use there? Well,
I mean, my main body is a Nikon. I have an old Nikon D300, which is a workhorse camera.
Okay.
I have some pretty nice lenses. My go-to lenses would be a 17 to 35, and then...
That's a wide angle?
It is.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the D300 doesn't have the full-frame sensor, so my next purchase will be that.
Always something to look forward to, for getting.
And then the 24 to 70 is a great lens.
Okay.
And I have the Prime 50 1.4 also.
Okay.
My most favorite thing that I just got was a little point and shoot Fuji X100S.
Is that...
It's a rangefinder mirrorless camera that you can just take anywhere, and it's amazing.
That's awesome. I know that's a real trend that people are going to. That's something for another show. But that's good to know. We're going to look into that probably in the future. I know that's a trend that people are getting to, especially for travel photography because it's so light and easy to...
And I have to mention the iPhone.
The iPhone.
The iPhone is always with me,
of course,
no matter what. So, and it's a great camera.
has allowed everyone to take more pictures,
Yeah.
get involved. It might be a jumping off point, but the thing, we've talked about this before too, is you can be spontaneous because you've got it with you,
Yeah.
so you won't miss something.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So let's talk a little bit about this project that you have become involved in. For a few months out of every year, Joanne is involved with putting together a calendar. It's called the Kittendales calendar, and the proceeds from that benefit the Hull Seaside Animal Shelter. Now, how did you get involved with that group?
Okay, so my sister was on the board at the time, my sister Susan, and she's my partner in this project. We do it pretty much, the two of us do everything.
Okay.
And she was on the board, and one of the founding board members mentioned doing a calendar as a fundraiser and how it might be cool to do guys with kittens. And so my sister said, well, my sister's a photographer, let me see if she'll be interested. So my sister came to me and asked me about it, and I was all over it. I was like, yeah. She claims, because I asked her about this, she claims that I said guys and cats, that doesn't really resonate, but what about hunky guys and kittens? And then my sister actually came up with the name Kittendales as a play on Chippendales.
Exactly.
So that's how it happened. And here we are 8 years later.
Yeah. And so just take us a little bit through the process of putting the calendar together. I mean, I would imagine it takes a while. Does it start with the shooting phase? Or I suppose you have to back up a little bit and get the kittens, which are probably from the shelter, so that might be easier, and then the models.
Yes, and yes. So yeah, we typically try to start in the spring. Of course, we have to wait for kittens to arrive at the shelter, which you know is a good and a bad thing, because a lot of them come from the street, but they are all kittens from Hull Seaside Animal Rescue. And so we start shooting in the spring. Our summers are pretty much shooting. And then it goes into post, which I do. I do all the editing.
Oh, wow.
So I shoot it, I edit it. Susan is very involved in finding guys and all the other stuff, contacting them, production stuff.
Right.
And we put it together. I mean, we decide everything.
Right.
Who goes in what month, and then typically, we're a bit late this year, but typically it goes to the printer in mid-September.
Okay.
And we will have them by the time you see this show.
Okay, good. Tell us specifically how people can get a hold of the calendar, how much does it cost, that kind of thing.
So they're $20. Every single penny will go to the shelter.
Wow, that's great.
If you order online, there is a shipping cost, so I think it's $5 for shipping. So Kittendales.com is where you can find them. If you're local, I have another sister who owns Toast Restaurant, and she sells them at the restaurant. So that's a pretty central location if you just want to pick one up. They make great gifts.
And that's in Hull?
That's in Hull, and obviously you can purchase them right at the shelter. And they just recently bought a new building at 487 Nantasket Ave, which is right next to Riddles in Hull. And you can certainly pick them up there during their open hours.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We're going to have all that information available for you at the end of the show again, but just know that we'll have that information so that you can get a hold of the calendar. You can always contact us here at the show as well. Any tips you could give people for taking pictures of their own little kittens or maybe puppies? We're going to take a closer look at some of the pictures in a minute. But before we get to that, what would be some tips? And this could include people using their iPhones or point and shoot or DSLR. People are pretty good with cameras these days. So what kind of, if you could pick out 3 tips that you'd give to people to get better pictures of their pets?
3 things. One would be take a whole bunch of pictures. I'd say we typically take between 300 and 400 shots for each shot of our calendar.
Oh, wow.
I would say get down to their level.
Okay.
And use treats or toys, squeaky things, just to distract them, because animals are like kids. They're hard to make space.
Exactly. Yeah. And that would apply probably mostly to indoor photos. We're going to take a look at the pictures again, but are most of the photos in the calendar outside, or are they inside studio shots?
Well, they're outside, which brings a whole new element to bringing cats outside. And we've done a couple of shots indoors. You may not see a sample of that today, but there's a lot of elements. We have to make sure the cat is calm. So we have volunteers at the shelter who give me, the best cats to use. But we are taking them outside. Noise can be a factor, so you want to be in a quiet place if you can, not on a main street.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good tips. I think that's good tips that everyone can use. How much money? Do you know how much money that the calendar has raised for the shelter?
Absolutely. Our first calendar was in 2008, so actually next year will be our 10-year anniversary. This 2016 will be not going into 9 years. And over the course of the 8 years, we've raised over $150,000.
Oh my gosh! Wow! I bet that's very useful.
Yeah, it's it is their biggest fundraiser, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, give us that website one more time.
It's kittendales.com.
Okay, pretty easy to remember. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a closer look at Joanne's pictures. We're going to take a look at some pictures from the calendar. We're going to take a look at some travel pictures. And we're going to take a look. We've talked a little bit about using your iPhone to take pictures, so we're going to take a look at those as well. A lot of images to look at. So stay tuned, and we will be back in a second. Welcome back to Point and Shoot. We've been talking to my guest today, Joanne Berman. Joanne is a trainer at the Apple Store in Hingham, and she's also an accomplished photographer, specializing in some landscape photography, pet photography, and iPhoneography. We are going to take a look at some pictures. She also, in particular, has a project working with the Hull Seaside Animal Shelter, making an annual calendar. That's a big fundraiser for them. And we're going to take a look at some of the past covers, and we have a treat because we have the newest, yet to be unveiled cover for this year's calendar. So let's take a look at some of those images, and we will hear how they were shot. So this is looking good, Joanne. What can you tell us about where this was set up?
This was set up the Atlantic Ocean is behind him.
Okay.
This was the most mellow cat I think we've ever worked with. And it was late afternoon, so that kind of really nice orangey sky.
Yeah. Is that the time you recommend shooting outside?
Yes, and early morning is good too, but coordinating the guys and the cat. And by the way, all the guys volunteer their time for this. Nobody is compensated whatsoever, so it's an entire volunteer project.
Now, do you have other people out here helping you as well? Is there any shading going on? Or
my sister, we did not use anything here, but we use mainly just reflectors. Occasionally I'll pull a flash out. But this was pure sun, nothing else.
Okay. And that was one of the previous covers?
That was not a cover. That was an inside shot.
An inside shot.
Obviously,
okay,
this is 2011.
Okay. And where is that? Where's that?
This was the most picturesque location we ever shot. It was. It's in Hull. If anyone knows Hull, Allerton Hill.
Oh, right.
I happen to know a woman who owns the house with the fort at the top, which you can see from the distance. And this is a beautiful view of both the beach and the bay. And it's the most picturesque.
Wow, I mean,
spot.
That almost looks fake. It's unbelievable.
It's real. We had to climb up the tower to get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
This one is up at the Fort Revere.
Okay, yep.
I'm not even sure this little old cannon is there anymore, but the cat was pretty amazing.
Now, how old? Oh, he's got his little paw on his face. I just noticed that. Now, how old are the kittens kind of...
We like to work mainly with cats that are between 8 weeks and not more than 3 months, because once they get big, then it's a little scary taking them outside.
Okay.
This one, we actually did use a flash. It was backlit with the sun.
Oh, so you've got the you're shooting sort of into the sun?
I'm shooting into the sun. There's a flash to my left, and it just worked out. He's got nice light behind him.
So in that, do you sort of position well, you've got the trees there, which is good, but if you're shooting into the sun, do you recommend putting your subject in between you and the sun? Is that
That's pretty much,
you can do?
Yeah, you can do that, but you'll definitely need a flash.
Okay, for some fill to fill in the light?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that cat, I know you were talking about treats and noises. I mean, that kitten's looking just right at you.
He is, and so my sister becomes very instrumental in trying to distract the cats. We have all kinds of toys and noisemakers, and like I said, I shoot a lot and just continuous if I can.
That's the great thing about digital, right? We can just shoot hundreds and hundreds, and you only need one good one. So okay, now this obviously is a little tricky with the water. What's going on here?
Just the sun is off to his left. You know, a little bit of an angle. I believe we used just a reflector on this, and just the light was nice. This was a morning shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like how now some of these guys have sunglasses on. That's not something I would normally think about doing, but I suppose in this case it's nice because then you don't have to worry about your subject sort of squinting.
Yeah, that's a big challenge.
Yeah.
And we try not to do too many with sunglasses, but sometimes it just works.
But here it works because they're supposed to be sort of hunky and having some attitude, so that's kind of a good prop, and then it also helps them not to be squinting.
Right.
Okay.
This was up in the Hingham Cemetery.
Yep, I recognize it. It's a beautiful place to photograph.
And this cat was just amazing. As you can see, the guy had done some modeling in the past too, so this was very shaded. We used a reflector which probably really did nothing. So sometimes shade you can kind of just bring it up in post, and I think that's what we did here. But it's nice flat lighting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. No bright spots. No, I mean it's so evenly lit, but yet a little peeking through the trees there is a little nice contrast.
This was last year's cover. This was probably the most precarious location we've shot. We've never done this before with multiple cats.
Yeah. Now, how does that work?
Well, out of probably 400 and something shots, this was probably the only one where most of the cats' heads were up. Yeah. And this was a volunteer at the shelter offered her deck.
Oh,
and it's kind of over by Gunrock Beach, is to the right there. And the sun, again, late sun, similar to the guy with the Ellen underwear on.
Oh, right.
And yeah, we just got lucky with this, and how cute are those cats.
And do they normally have that many kittens at one time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they can have litters of 6 or 8.
Oh, right. Okay, so they've got,
But these guys were all from one litter, and just, we got lucky.
Wow. And?
A couple years ago, this is over by Hingham Square near the Lincoln statue.
Okay.
I forget what it's called, but there are these really cool columns behind there, and this cat again was very mellow, and we just said, hey, why don't you just try putting him on the guitar, and he just sat there.
Oh my gosh. And so in this case too, now it looks like, how is this lit?
This is late sun, and you know, a lot of times we
just
choose
natural lighting.
Yeah, a lot of times we just choose our location based on the time of day.
Okay, so you've got kind of a nice catch light in the eye of your model, and the kitten looking right at you guys. And are you the person that sort of poses the model and the kitten?
I mean, my sister will have input if I don't see something. It's really a collaboration, and I rely on her to let me know, because I'm looking at so many things that I sort of need her input to let me know if, like, his hair is messed up.
Right. One thing I like about this one is he's just got a hint of a smile, and that's a good tip for photographers too. Yeah. Especially maybe photographing their kids, or you know, some type of, you know, with people in it. They don't always have to have like a huge cheesy grin.
This is my most favorite kind of, and the way I ask the guy, I'll say, just open your mouth a little, but not really smile. And,
yeah.
And it does kind of work. So
It's a good tip.
thanks, yeah. And this is our newest
Here
calendar.
it is, unveiled.
Yeah, so this is actually an amazing stained glass done by an artist who happens to be the treasurer at Hull Seaside Animal Rescue.
Oh, wow.
And this is on his porch. This is his nephew, who is a professional hockey player.
Oh, my gosh.
And his house is right on the beach, and we had perfect light just coming through that stained glass.
Oh, wow.
So we did use a reflector here, no flash.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's a fun thing.
All right. So that's the Kittendales photos. Now we're going to take a look at some of your other work.
Just my other passion is dogs. I love cats. I have a dog myself, and this is just a dog.
Was this your dog? Or
this
just...
is not my dog.
Okay.
This is a friend's dog named Remy.
Okay.
Handsome fellow he is.
Is this outside? I would imagine
this
most
is
pet
not
photos.
outside.
Oh, really? Wow, it's such
just
good
light
lighting.
coming through my window.
Oh, okay.
This is my little guy,
Oh.
Bucky.
What kind of a dog is that?
He's a border terrier.
Okay.
And he sings, but you won't see that today. This is in Situate, and I love this shot because it matches his coat.
I was just going to say, it's a tiny bit of contrast, but more just sort of blending in, but it kind of makes the dark part of his face and his eyes pop out a little bit more because of the blending with the coat and the grass. And now, is this a thing? I know you were saying a tip to kind of get low. Mm-hmm. Is this one of those instances? It looks like maybe you
Absolutely.
were shooting from a little lower vantage point.
Yeah, and I would say even with kids, like I just find that if you get down to their level, it makes for a more impactful picture.
And there again, I noticed in the last photo and this photo, the dog is not looking straight at you, but
right.
it kind of works too. So that's something to try too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to get them. Oh, now here's...
Now this is Bucky's annual headshot, as
Okay.
I like to call it. Every fall we try to find a pile of leaves, and this is one of them.
That's really
Camouflage
cute.
head.
Yeah. Now that's a little more dramatic since he is looking right at you.
Yeah, he kind of has no choice, and of course I'm above him, so this
Right.
is a little bit lower, but I'm shooting down at him.
So
obviously.
you can see by trying different, vantage points, you get a different look.
Yeah, and I mean, one of my favorite quotes is by Ansel Adams, and it's a good photograph is knowing where to stand.
That's really important, and you can just experiment.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing.
That's the beauty of digital photography.
Right.
You can take a million pictures.
Go low, go up, and then go really up.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
And this is my guy again. We're on a boat, and he was digging the wind in his face.
Yeah.
So.
So there too, you don't even see his face at all, but yet your mind kind of fills it in, and it's just a different perspective.
Yep, and shot with a wide
literally.
angle.
So that's a wide angle?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just street shots. This is in Italy, and I never really liked to shoot people until I started with the calendar, and then I became kind of interested in street stuff.
Okay.
And people.
Right. Now, in this case, people might want to know if you're taking, you're doing street photography and there's people there. What do you recommend? And people have all different theories, so we'll preface this by saying this is just your opinion. But how do you approach people on the street? Do you ask them? Here's another shot. Do you ask them, for permission to take their picture? Do you sort of talk to them, get to know, or do you just do it and walk away? There's lots of different theories. But
everything is just my opinion.
Right.
First of all. I didn't ask on any of these. I'm in the street, and this is where that little Fuji camera comes in great.
Okay.
It's in a silent mode, and you can shoot super fast, and it's silent.
Okay.
So nobody even knows I'm doing it.
Okay. So these would be really people in their own natural habitat, sort of candid, not posing.
Absolutely.
Where was this taken?
This is in Italy, and I cannot remember the name of the town, but it's in Sicily.
Okay, so more travel / street type things.
This is an older photograph. It's I used to do my own black and white printing.
Okay.
And I was quite obsessed with hand coloring photos at one point.
Oh, wow.
And so this was a black and white photo. This is many years ago, but in Venice, Italy. And there's lots of laundry shots in Italy that you can
So was this
snag.
a film photo?
This was 35mm film, and I hand colored it.
Wow. That takes some talent.
As well as this. If there's any music buffs watching, this was Steve Earle's guitar. I happened to be in a studio where it was just sitting there, and I took a picture of it, 35mm film, and I hand colored it with kind of a vintage look.
So this is another technique of getting in really, really tight.
Yeah.
You don't need to see the whole guitar. You know what it is right away. You don't need to see the rest of the neck. You don't need to see, you know, the bottom.
Right. I like pieces and parts of things, especially with dogs, and less is more. So this is where the iPhone photography comes in. And,
okay.
You know, I mean, there's lots you can do with the phone. And I used to say, well, I'm going to use my real camera as opposed to my phone.
Right.
But the phones now are so good.
Right.
And this was just dusk, the end of my street, and I, you know,
right.
had my
and
phone
so
on me.
the phone has gotten better, and the editing software has also gotten better.
And there's so many apps out there that you can. I mean, these are untouched for the most part.
And so unless you would be printing these, especially if you're just using them to view on your phone or on your computer, you've really got it made. And even if you wanted to print it, you could print it in a small-ish format, right? I mean, unless you're, you know, really going
This was
big.
not with the phone. This happened to be taken with my Fuji. And what I like about the Fuji camera is it shoots amazing in low light.
Oh, what's the...
It's like 32,000 or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
so,
and very little noise at high speed.
Wow. So yeah, did that have a lot of editing associated with it?
No, I don't think I did much to this. There was a setting on the camera. I may have had it in vivid.
Okay.
So I didn't do anything after I shot it.
Wow. So so that's with the lightweight.
Yeah, this one's
travel.
a little funky, but that's definitely iPhone camera.
Okay.
Probably messed with it a little bit.
So do you obviously have your iPhone with you almost all the time?
I do.
And
I work at Apple, Susan.
Right, of course. So you're promoting that. But do you go out and shoot specifically with your phone, or is your phone more for sort of spontaneous shooting, or
I mean,
little of each?
sometimes when I was in Italy recently, I had both.
Okay.
And sometimes I just pulled that out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Like one night, it was very low light. The iPhone actually takes really good shots at night as well. This was with my Fuji, just another street scene in Italy.
Okay.
As well as this.
Kind of an interesting lighting there where you're in the dark and then
Yeah,
getting
it's
brighter and
tricky
brighter.
because you're shooting in the dark and shooting into bright 90-degree sunshiny weather.
Brings your eye right down to all the colors, though, down there near the water.
Yep. I'm a doorway fan. Just simple things sometimes.
Yep. Another travel scene?
This is beach in Italy, Lettoiani. Like my Italian accent?
That I do. I like it a lot. And is that it for the photos then? Yes. All right. Well, Joanne, I really want to thank you. That was a lot of information. You guys can re-watch this to pick up some of that. It was some great tips with your pets, some good street tips, travel tips. But just to go back and one more time wrap up with some information about the calendar.
Yep.
Tell us again how people can get that calendar.
You can get it locally at the shelter during
Okay.
open hours, Toast Restaurant in Hull,
Okay.
online, Kittendales.com, as well as hsar.org, which is the shelter's website.
Okay. Good.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Joanne, for joining us. This was another, hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully you go out and take some of your own pictures. What do you have to do that? Point and shoot.